Good morning, people of YouTube. So we're back again today, and I thought this time I would give you an update on the purple list that I just premiered on the channel not too long ago. But I've made a couple edits, and I've been taking it to my locals, and I've been doing really well. I have 2 first place finishes with this deck and a 2nd place finish at a pretty competitive local scene, so I'm very proud of the results of this deck, and it's proving itself to be a very, very decent contender for this meta. And to the point where if I have to enter any large-scale events, I might play this instead of my green decks, so I've been very, very impressed by what this deck has been doing for me. I think the one loss I had at my last locals was Lord Nightmon, and I've beaten Lord Nightmon every single time up until that point, so yeah, no, that was the only reason I took 2nd, and it was a close game. It was last hit, game 3, one more turn, I'd have won situation. So this deck is not to be underestimated, even though it's kind of cheap, and it kind of looks underwhelming on paper to some more experienced, to some less experienced players. It would look a little bit underwhelming on paper, because it's not doing any of the big fancy combo stuffs like Lilith Loop is doing. It's just providing steady advantage and constantly maintaining the board state. So, we'll go over my choices real quick and why this deck is doing so well. So for the Digitama, I have 2 copies of Demimera and 3 copies of Gigi. This is the same. Gigi is more important, but Demimera can help you get you to the things that you need. And it's nice to build a stack on this and just have a regular rookie under this that you're going to delete. So I wouldn't cut to less than 2 Demimera because it's been performing really well in testing. So for the rookies, we still have 4 Guilmon and 3 copies of Tapir, along with 2 copies of Gazimon. I felt like these were pretty mandatory. These are your deletion effects. Guilmon is the most universal, but Tapir, again, can help get you where you need to go, especially when combined with the Demimera. And then Gazi just shuts out certain matchups. But the biggest change I made to the rookie lineup was I went up to 5 2-cost vanillas. So the thing is if I have Tactimon on board, and I have the Black War Growlmon under it, Chaos Gallant has no problem just bringing back rookies for free. But Tactimon doesn't necessarily have that ability. So there are times that you just want to play a cheap body, and then delete it by swinging with Tactimon and then gaining the memory so that you can go up to 2 more and then at least start a play. So having bodies that cost 2 to just put on the board to combo well with the Tactimon and the Black War Growlmon is just very, very pivotal, and that's honestly one of the biggest changes I've made to the deck, besides just making the rest of the lineups more consistent. So going on to the level 4s, I got 2 copies of Devimon, 2 copies of Black Growlmon, 2 copies of Vilemon, 2 copies of Meramon, and then 4 copies of the blocker Devimon. So this lineup kind of changed a little bit. I added another blocker because you want more things that are kind of cheaper to hard play that that give you more value. But the biggest thing is that most of these are 6k or less, less than 6k, so Needhog was a bit of a problem. Omnishout was a little bit of a problem, so this does help with that. Mitigates it just a little bit. And I cut the Black War Growlmon from 3 because a lot of the times you would just Digiburst it away. So you weren't getting this inheritable effect off as much as I wanted. However, the times that you still get it off is amazing. Especially if you can get this under his Wart Defeat with Matt and Ty on board, you're just checking all of their security. So I really do like this lineup. The Devimon helps with sweet retaliation plays, you can double swing with your Tactimon and then threaten them on the clapback with cards like this. And yeah, I just felt like the level 4 lineup is super solid. So on to the level 5s, we have streamlined this immensely. Now we're just playing 4 copies of Wergururu, 4 copies of Black War Growlmon, and then the 1 copy of Skullmeramon. So, again, this could be Chimera if you want. The Chimeramon is good because that just does fit the theme of the deck. Deleting your bodies to gain a lot of value as the name in game purple. But I thought it was more beneficial to have a 2 cost to evolve in this slot. Because sometimes you will just be left with 3, and you want to evolve for 1, evolve for 2, and then go into a Pluto. So it's still very useful for the Plutomon plays, but for anything else, you really want these. And even with Pluto, you still kind of want one of these, but obviously I can't play more than 4 copies of a card, and 9 level 5s is the ideal number. So this is what we're going with. You really, really need this inheritable effect in order to be winning with this deck. And this inheritable effect of just being able to delete something to unsuspend is the main reason you will win most of your games. Because all of your level 6s you're just swinging at least twice with, and you get really, really good effects. Speaking of the level 6s with good effects, we'll go ahead and lay them out now. We got 3 copies of Pluto, 2 copies of 3 copies of Tactimon, 2 copies of Plutomon, and 2 copies of Chaos Gallantmon. So, this 3rd copy of Tactimon could honestly be a 3rd copy of Chaos Gallant. They do very, very similar things for your game state. This is better for pushing advantage because you will get more bodies out of it. But this card can kind of stay by itself a little bit better. And especially in a meta where we have a lot of removal, that comes up a lot. So, Tactimon is amazing for, just maintaining board state. Chaos Gallant is really good for pushing board state ahead. And then with Pluto, if anything ever falls out of balance for you, like if you get too far behind, or maybe you have a level 6 play that you can go up into a level 6, but you don't really have resources in your hand for the next play after that, Pluto can help grab you a bunch of resources. And it just can benefit you by having the option to activate a big option from your hand for free as well. But the big option that you're dropping is kind of the least valuable part about this card sometimes. Most of the time you do want it to just draw a bunch of cards early game, if that's when you're seeing it. But when you see it late game or even mid game, when your opponent has a level 6 on the board, then this card is the one you want to see, because this is the one that will let you just Hell's Gate it away. So I really, really love this lineup, and it's been working very well for me. And there's nothing I would change about it. Except maybe dropping the Tacti for Chaos Gallant, but that's like player preference at that point. It's entirely up to you. As long as you're playing at least 2 of all of them, I feel like you're good. Now the only level 7 in this list I am playing is 2 copies of Omnimon Zwart Defeat, because it is the most important one. The regular Zwart wasn't doing enough for me. Sure, it was flooding my board, but that's like irrelevant in this list, because you want one big stack to be swinging multiple times. And while the Zwart could do that, I feel like Zwart Defeat is much better for controlling tempo. Plus, if you ever hit this out of security, you just feel like a boss. So I would bump this card up to more copies. I think 3 or 4 would be the ideal number, but I only own 2 right now. And I really don't know what I would cut to add in a 3rd copy of this. I think it would either be the Demonic Disaster or one of the Tamers, but yeah, no, this card is very, very important, and I definitely understand why this card is on the rise in popularity, especially after playtesting it myself. This card is just broken. Every time you get it out, like, you can choke your opponent, like, by popping their Tamers, if you draw into it and you just need to get it out that way, or if it just plays in security, you just have a beater that you can just swing with, and if they ever deal with it, then you just get to wipe something off their board as well. I was also in a situation where my opponent, like at locals, had 3 rested Digimon. I had the Black War Growlmon stack under this, and so I swung over one of his Digimon, deleted one of my other dudes to unsuspend, then used this to swing into his last 2 suspended Digimon were a Needhog and a Chaosmon. So I swung into the Needhog, traded myself for it, and then used the on-deletion effect to wipe out the Chaosmon, and I wiped his board with just this one card, and it was really amazing. So, yeah, would go up a couple copies of those if I had any more. So, Demonic Disaster is a card that you kind of keep in your hand if you see it, and then it can clutch you the game. I've stolen a lot of games with this card. I don't think I'd play it at more than one, just because your inheritable effects do the exact same thing. But if you've already used your inheritable effect, you can use this card to kind of like surprise your opponent with another attack, and it's amazing. Plus, in security, it just also surprises them by putting another body on your side of the field, similar to the whole Zwart defeat thing, and that can just really swing tempo in your advantage. I think it is the least important card in this list, so if I was going to cut anything, it would be this. But it is very good, and there are arguments to bump this up to more copies, just because of how clutch it is whenever it does come up. The last option in the deck, I'm still playing 2 copies of Hell's Gate. This card is absolutely amazing. It swings tempo back into your favor with Plutomon, and you're usually going to have this card in hand because it, you'll just draw it and just kind of hold it and wait, or you'll check it in security, and then it'll just go to your hand, and then you just have it for whenever you want to go into Pluto. And that's just really nice. I'd probably go up to 3 copies of this card after playtesting a little bit more, and that might be what I take the Demonic Disaster out for, but we will see. I've also done situations where I've been playing against green, and I've swung with Pluto twice, and then, or I've swung with my ultimate, done something, and then evolved into Pluto to use the Demonic Disaster to pass my turn, but keep my Mega unsuspended so that it couldn't be Needhogged away. So this is a good card. This is a better card, though. The Hell's Gate is just far more important. And then the last cards in the deck are the Tamers. I have 2 copies of Matt. I bumped this card up because being put to 3 is very important. You need to be building into your level 6 stacks as early as possible. This card helps get you there, and you really don't want to be choked in this deck. And then I have 1 copy of Matt and Ty, because it gives your Zwart Defeats extra security attack. And with these, you have the potential of being set to 5 memory, which will let you do anything you want during your turn, really. And it's just really nice. I don't know if playing 2 Mats or playing 2 Ty and Matt is correct. Right now, I'm leaning towards the 2 Matt, even though I don't really think this card is as good. Just because Ty and Matt can be played around. So, it is what it is. This is what I'm going with for now, but don't be surprised if in the future that I swap these ratios, because I really do think this card is, or the Ty and Matt is better than just regular Matt. But yeah, Matt is the only one that just Matt is the only tamer that purple has access to that just sets you to 3 automatically, so you still gotta play at least 1, I feel. So, that's the update to this list. A couple things have changed. This deck has got a lot more consistent, and it's so strong. If you guys are looking for a purple deck to play, but you don't want to drop like hundreds of dollars on Lilithmons, or you want the only expensive card in the deck that you want to pick up is Zwart Defeat because you plan on playing it in other decks as well, and like all of these cards are super cheap, the level 6s, so Zwart Defeats are something that are good to just pick up. You're playing Security Control, you're playing Mastamon, anything like that, any form of purple in the future, or black, or just anything really. You'll need Zwart Defeats at some point. So if you're, kind of broke for buying cards after picking up these guys, I recommend this list because, again, aside from the Zwart Defeats, everything else in this deck is dirt cheap. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys next time with another update. I got my blue Garurumon deck that my buddy's been playing at locals a lot, and he's been really liking it, so we'll go ahead and give the update on that list as well, because a lot of changes have been made to that, so stay tuned.